Good day everyone, you are welcome to my YouTube channel once again. As you know that on this channel we discuss money, business, we discuss investment, and we talk about asset acquisitions. And you can see that these things we are talking about are things that are really important in life, and there is no how that you can even use your life without needing any of these things. But just like you know that presently we are focusing on provision business. If you are looking for a business to start, this is the right channel that you need to be, because we talk about provision business, how you can start, how you can scale it up, how you can ensure the business moves smoothly while you gain the best of results, you get the best of profit from the business. That is what we have been discussing. Today we are going to talk about provision business is like warfare. Provision business is like warfare. When we say provision business is like warfare, it's not actually saying that we are at war whenever you are in provision business, but it's just focusing on an area of provision business that tells you that if you are in business, you cannot just focus on yourself. You cannot just focus on your strategy. You cannot just focus on what you want to do or what you have in mind to do. You need to focus on some other participants which will determine the success of your business, which will determine your success in that business called provision. So that is why we want to discuss this topic, like provision business is like warfare. So let's quickly start. Sometimes business is like warfare in a certain way. Provision business is like warfare in a certain way. In warfare, most strategy is determined by the enemy. When you are at war, most of the strategies that you will use is determined by the strategy the enemy is using. Your enemy uses a strategy, you want to use another strategy that will counter what the enemy intends to do by using his own strategy. So the enemy determines the strategy. So that means in provision business, you focus also on your enemies. When I use enemies here, it means competitors. Your competitor is not actually your enemy, but in provision business, you must see them as more or less like an enemy, because they are trying to pull you out of business and gain all your customers. They are trying every time they wake up in the morning till they sleep at night. They are looking for ways of taking all your customers so that they can sell everything you are selling. So provision business is determined by what you need to do to defeat your enemy, and what your enemy is likely to do to counter your action in order to defeat you. What you need to do to defeat your enemies, and what your enemy is likely to do to counter that your action. That is what provision business is actually about. So most of us, whenever we go into provision business, or we see provision business as a very simple business, as a business that does not require much effort, much energy, much thinking, but it's actually beyond that. You take a look at the strategy of the enemy, then that will determine your own strategy. If you just decide not to focus on your competitors, you might be heading towards a doom, because they will take some strategies or some decisions that will definitely affect your business. And if you are not abreast with any of these decisions, that might make you not to make any decision to counter that decision, or not to have any strategy to counter that their strategy, which will enable them to gain the upper hand in the market. We should not forget that provision business is a highly competitive business in every sense of it. Provision business is highly competitive everywhere in the world, even in the Western world, in Africa, in Europe, in North America, in Asia, every continent. provision business is highly competitive. So for you to remain relevant in the business, you need to treat the business as a form of warfare. It's only that in this kind of warfare, we don't use guns, we don't use missiles, we don't fire missiles, we don't use drones, we don't use AK-47 or anything that we can mention. We don't use it in fighting this business. But we use strategies, we use decisions in fighting our competitors so that they don't push us out of business. As an entrepreneur, you must be looking in two directions simultaneously. You must be intensely focused on your customers, on who they are, where they are, what they want and need, what they will pay for, how they will buy, and other factors about them. You focus more on your customers. Who are they? Where do they live? What will they buy? What do they need? What will they pay their money for? What will they use their money to buy? What will they buy? How will they even buy it? And you need to know other factors about your customers. At the same time, you must be intensely focused on your competitors. You must observe them. You must take note of everything they are doing. This does not mean that you will leave your own business space and go to their own business space to be picking or spying. But you must try everything within your power to know what they are doing in your competitors' business. Remember, your competitors get up every single morning and think all day long about how to put you out of business. They wake up every morning and think of how to put you out of business. That is their goal. Because if they don't push you out of business, they will not be able to have all the sales in that area. So, human beings are so selfish in some ways. You are selling, your competitor is selling, but his own goal is to push you out of that place so that he will gain all your customers together with his. That will accumulate to increase sales volume, increase profits, increase customer base. You can see, and that will lead to enlargement in his or our own business. That is why provision business is a business that must be treated like a warfare. Your competitors, think about how to undercut your prices and steal your customers. You are selling something for 200. Your competitors will be looking for how to sell that same product of the same quality for 150. And if you are not careful enough, you will discover that customers will go to where they buy it for 150 rather than to you where you will sell it for them at 200. That is why you must know what they are doing. And you know, provision business involves a lot of items. That is where the work is. Since it involves a lot of items, that means you need to know how much your competitors are selling each product in their stores, each items in their supermarket. That is why you must know it. You must know about how they sell every product. How are they selling chocolate? How much are they selling it in their store? You must know. Because that has a way of determining your own price. We talk about who determines the price in provision business in one of our videos. If you have not watched that video, please go and look at it. Who determines the price you sell your product? Is it you? Is it the customer? Is it the market? Is it the society? Is it your competitors? Is it anything? But when you go to that video and you look at that video, you will see the reasons why it is not you that determines the price. Just as you are focused on sales and profit, so are they. your competitors are also focused on sales, and they are also focused on profits. They want to make profits. They want to make high sales. And for them to make high sales, which will translate to higher profit, they will look for a way of pushing you out, so that all the customers that do come to you will start coming to them. That will increase their sales. And as their sales is being increased, it will also increase their profits. That is why provision business should be treated like a warfare. If you are going for warfare, you look at the strategy of the enemy. Then you determine your own strategy. How does the enemy fight? What is their strength? What is their weakness? Then that will determine the strategy that you will use in attacking them or in fighting them. But for you that do not know the strategy that the enemy is planning to use, how will you counter it? That is why you must know what your competitors are doing in their various stores. At times you can just walk around or send spies. Go and buy something there. Go and look at how that place is. Give me a report about how things are going on there. You cannot just focus on your business and leave them. If you do that, you are doing that to your own doom. Because at the end of the day, they will know your strategy and use it against you, thereby forcing you out of business. From the day you begin thinking about being an entrepreneur, your competitor will have a major influence on every decision you make and how successful those decisions turn out to be. The day you decided to start a business, to become an entrepreneur, or to start a provision business, as the case of this topic, your competitors are the ones that will determine everything you do in that business. Your decisions will be based on your competitors, because your competitors have major influence on everything that happens in your business, not you. You are not the one to determine everything. It is your competitor. On this note, we have come to the end of this topic that says provision business is like warfare. Provision business is like warfare. If you have not been treating provision business as warfare before, you need to start treating it like warfare. Because actually we are not fighting with guns. We are not firing missiles. We are not using drones, combat drones, in fighting this battle. For you to remain in this business and for you to get to the top of this business called provision business, you must know the strategy of your competitors. This is very, very important, and your ability to do this will determine your growth in this business, will determine your profitability in this business, will determine your longevity in this business, and will determine your success in this business. Knowing your competitors, knowing their strategies is very, very important for you to remain relevant in this business. So if you have not pressed the subscribe button, I will use this medium to appeal to you to please press the subscribe button and also click on the notification bell so that you'll be notified any other time a video is being dropped. Thank you very much. We shall meet in the next video. Bye for now.